and welcome to the School of Cloud. This week, we're talking about authorization, security, those sorts of topics, identity and access management, really. And we're going to be talking about identity and access management in Google Cloud. The hosts today are myself and Elaine Chan. Elaine?
Hey everyone, I'm Elaine. I'm a junior at Western Michigan University. Thanks for joining us today.
And I'm the tech lead over at UC Berkeley, related to their Google stuff. It's the acronym for Google's Cloud. It's one of the three big clouds. There's also Oracle Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, other clouds as well. But Google Cloud, Azure, AWS are the three largest. And we're talking about Google Cloud Platform a little bit each week, every week, trying to learn the whole thing. The services that they offer in GCP, there's lots of different services, but the big areas are broken up into compute, storage, big data, and machine learning. There's all kinds of different services that you can learn and explore. And during labs in this event series, we've used Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, App Engine, Cloud Functions, Bigtable. I don't know if we've used Bigtable. Cloud storage for sure. Let's see. Cloud SQL. I don't remember if we did any Cloud Spanner ones. Cloud Data Store. We've done some of the machine learning ones in Quests, especially last year. And then BigQuery, PubSub, Dataflow, Dataproc, and I don't know if we've used Data Lab, but all of these. So anyway, a whole bunch of different packages we've learned and used so far as we've been learning the cloud. Now, what we're going for is our goal is to get these two badges, Security and Identity Fundamentals. And if you take an extra lab at the end, it's a challenge lab you do on your own, you can earn this Ensure Access and Identity skill badge. You can put that on your LinkedIn. Now, today, let's get started with our study jam. We're going to get you access to Qwik Labs if you don't have it. And then using that access, using those codes, you can then complete the first lab. After you finish that unlocks an entire month of access. So then you can use it for a month to finish out that quest. If you finish out that quest with the challenge lab, it unlocks a second month automatically. So that's pretty nifty. If you don't worry. We're still here every week. At least that's what's on the schedule. That's what's in the plan. And that's the stuff I've got for that. So now let's go over, and this one's a pretty basic lab. It's only a 1-credit lab. It's the Cloud IAM Quick Start. And that's Identity and Access Management. So we can start with that one. And we'll hit Start Lab. There's a video you can watch optionally. We're not going to watch it right now, but you could watch that on your own time. I'm going to prove that I'm not a robot. It keeps asking me every week if I am. Okay. The lab costs 1 credit. Launch with 1 credit. All right, there it goes. So it gives us 2 usernames and a password. The same password is used on both those. I'm going to copy the password so that I have it available. Then I'm going to scroll down. It says they set up with two different users this time. And it says, click on the Open Google Console button. I want to watch out and have you click on that and right click so that you can choose Open Link in Incognito window. That way it won't be using any of your existing accounts. Also in Incognito, if you already had one open, you'll see over there, it'll say 2 next to Incognito. You'll want to close both of them and do it again so that you get Incognito and it doesn't list a number like 2 or 3 or 4. That just means you're already logged in, and that's going to get confusing, especially because we've got 2 different accounts we're supposed to log in on this lab. So this lab especially, you want to make sure you're only in Incognito and that you don't have multiple Incognito windows. So it didn't preload the username. So I'm going to go back and copy the username. I was hoping it would, and then I could just paste the password. Now I'll go back, I'll get the password, and I'll jump back and I'll paste the password. So that account 1 will get me into Google Cloud Platform. This is the main console of Google Cloud Platform. And the first time you log in, it'll have a a box with some like terms and conditions. It didn't ask us because this account's already been used, but normally the first time in, you'd have a box like that, and there'd be a warning across the top telling you that you get some free credits the first time that you set up billing. Okay, so I logged in. It didn't ask me which country. So I was telling you that it would ask. Yeah, it didn't ask, but that's fine. If it does ask, put in your country and then click agree and continue. Okay, now to log in as the second user, they want us to do that again with another account. So I can do that. Now I'm going to open it in incognito. Now we'll have a second tab still in incognito. I'll paste in that username. And I'll go and then say that's the 4E41. I'll copy the password. Each account that you're using will be different. So the password won't be the same as the one I'm using. The username won't be the same. The format of the username, the student dash, that part will be the same, but the specific, oh, look at this. See this one, I have to click to agree to the terms of service. The other one, it didn't make me. Okay. All right, now go back to the instructions. We've got those two open in tabs in our browser. One as username 1, one as username 2. Okay. So now we're going to view or reset the user in a browser tab. Oh, so when we're over there, if we see we're in the wrong user account, we'll want to sign out or to switch which of the accounts. So to show you what that looks like, come back over to the two tabs here. You'll see this S, and this one is student 03-DD, right? That one is the student 1. And then if I click on it, it only shows that first one. When I go to the second tab, though, I click on it, I see both of them. This one with the student 03 4E4, that one is student 2. So if there's two, you have to make sure that you're in the right one. Because if you do something as the wrong user, well, bad things could happen, right? You could end up charging the wrong account, or you could end up opening a server in the wrong account and using your account versus a work account or all kinds of things like that. So be careful. It's easy to check. And here's an idea. They used a different color, but you can also use a different icon. I have a coworker that puts radically different icons for each user to make sure he never uses the wrong account. And I think that's a good idea. Okay, so I don't need to reset which user. I hovered over and I looked. So if you got confused about which one, go and check. You can sign out and you can sign right back in to the right one. Okay. Now, the Identity and Access Management Console and project levels. So we're going to look at that under the navigation menu, IAM and admin IAM. So that's over here. That's this menu on the side here. If it's already open, look at this. They already pinned it for us. So it's right at the very top, IAM and admin. That's not always the case. Look at this other user. The other user doesn't have that menu open. So to get that, hit this hamburger. That gets you the navigation menu. It is at the top. If it wasn't, then there's two ways to get to it. You go down here, there's more products. You could scroll down and it'll be IAM and admin right there. And then you can get to the IAM that way. Or up here in the search box, because Google's a search company, you can search for IAM and you can get it right there. So that's oftentimes the fastest. And notice they said they show this slash there. So if you hit slash on your keyboard, boom, that opens directly for you. And then you can just start typing. And scroll down and click. And there we go. So here we can see the different principles, which is like the different users. And then what kind of accounts there, service accounts or user accounts like people, or kind of like keys. So different keys. So there could be a key that's in the real world, there could be a key just for firemen, or a key just for elevator repair people, or a key for some different special purpose. Think of these service accounts as special purpose keys. Okay, so any of these different principles that have a service account, they're used for a certain reason. Now here they gave a name for some of them to make it easy. It's an optional thing. As you can see, some of them don't have a name. But if you're working in Google Cloud, it'd be good. I strongly recommend that you put names on things to make it easy for yourself in the future and for others to figure out what's going on so that they can fix whatever's wrong, or so that they can help you, and so that you can help yourself. And then you can see the roles, what access they have. Like there's a role that can edit anything in a compute engine. There's a service account that can run cloud build, or an editor that can access the different APIs, an owner for the whole project. Right? There's a BigQuery administrator, owner, storage administrator. Those are used as part of their ability to control and to test what you did in Google Cloud Platform. And then there's a viewer, and then there's this other one here that's got lots of access. So this viewer one, that's our user 2. This first one, the second one here, that's our user 1 or student 1 that they told us about. That one has lots of access and is an owner and can change things. Okay, they wanted us to hit add to look through the different roles that are on the project. Okay, so I see add is up here at the top. So click add. And then hopefully you're getting this, but are you seeing these? Does this look really scary? If it does, don't worry. The more we come back to this page in the future to set up accounts and things, the easier this will get. So the new principles, like, remember, they can be different kinds of accounts related to a key, like a service account, or it can be users. So they left it blank, and then they want us to look through that. They want us to look through the different roles that are available. So click on roles, and then you can see the ones that are currently used, custom ones. Oh, Qwik Labs test role. Okay, must be from when they're testing us. Basic roles like browser, editor, owner, and viewer. I talked about those in the beginning. And then there's so many different kinds of roles for certain things. So you can give someone just the bare minimum, just the access that they need to just one little part of Google Cloud. You don't have to give someone access to all of Google Cloud. You can be really careful about it if you need to have high security. So if there's someone who's only going to be working on Vertex AI and only needs to be able to view the feature data, let's say, you can give someone just that access, or you could give them that access and also resource viewer, right? You could give someone else access to edit, someone else access to write, like all kinds of different levels of access. When you look through these different, possibilities here, it's really astounding how many different products and services that they offer. The basic access, though, certainly going to be the easiest way. And in examples like class and stuff, we'll most likely be using just those. We might make a custom role, but most of the time we'll be using one of those 4. Okay. So there's viewer, editor, owner, and browser, just like we talked about. You can read more about that in the documentation. And then hit cancel. We're not going to add anybody. All right. Now let's go over to username 2. Now username 2 has very limited access. We already looked at that, actually. I already commented on that the second username only had viewer, right? So if we do that, I'm over here. I'll look at Identity and Access Management, IAM. So I can see this, but I won't be able to change anything. It looks like there's a pencil, like I can change something, but look at that. When I put my mouse over it, it says you need permissions for this action and required permissions, and then it lists the required permissions. I don't have those permissions as username 2. So you can see this is high security, and it's helpful because they tell you exactly what you would need to add to be able to make it work. So then you can talk to manager. You can talk to your administrator, and you can ask them for that access, and then they can, provision just the access you need to be able to do this part of the task or other tasks. So as viewer, the add button is grayed out. Oh, we'll take a look at that, and then we'll go back to username 1. Yep, add and remove are both grayed out. If I click on somebody, yeah, won't even let me remove my own access. So this is locked down, and that's a good thing. So they want us to go back to username 1, and then we'll create a cloud storage bucket, and we'll call it whatever we want to call it, and we'll set it up as multi-region. Okay, so I'm going to go and make a bucket. Now, don't put a name that's really crazy, because you'll have to type that in again later. So, okay, I'm going to go to the first tab, to that first username, the one with the DD in the name. That was part of the unique name mine had. And in the top, I'm going to go to the cloud storage. Google Cloud Storage. And then I'm going to create a bucket. And if you didn't see what I did there, there's a button at the top that says Create Bucket. Okay, now we can come up with whatever name we want. So I will make a name. I'll say, okay, the School of Data. I'll say 10. Let's see if that works. Looks like multi-region. Continue, continue. Everything else is just the defaults. Just continue. All right, got a bucket. The School of Data 10. Copy that name in case I need it later. Okay, if you get a permission error, sign out and sign back in. I did not get a permission error, but that's because I was in the right account. I was very careful. So now we want to upload files into the bucket. So we want to upload a text or HTML file. Okay. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'll go to that bucket and I'll click here, Upload Files. You've already got an object with that same name. Do you want to skip it, or do you want to overwrite? Like, do you want to change the one that's already there? And I want to change the one that's already there and continue. So it's going to go from 0 bytes. Now it's 37 bytes. That's perfect. And I can test that by clicking on it and then downloading it. And there it goes. Okay. So we've got that object. Let's see what they want us to do with it. They want us to call it sample.txt. Okay, so I'll rename that. Now it doesn't let me rename it right here. I'll have to go back to the bucket and hit the check mark. Let's see. Where is it going to let me rename it? Oh, there you go. You have to go all the way over to this far right-hand side, the 3 dots, that overflow menu. If I close this, then yeah, it's way over in the far edge. And then you can get down to rename. And then they want it called not sample document, just called sample.txt. And that's so that they can grade us, right? They want to see it in a certain place. We got the points. 20 out of 20. Now we've still got 2 more tasks to complete. Now they want us to switch to username 2 and see if we can see the bucket. We should be able to see the, it. So let's try that. So this was username 1. Now we'll go to username 2, this one here. And then we're going to go to Google Cloud Storage. And we'll open the browser. And that's the storage browser. And then here you can see that bucket. Okay, I'll open the bucket, see the sample text file. Okay, and I'll click to download it. Yep, so I do have access as that second user, the one with the 4E4. Okay. So now we're going to go and we're going to remove project viewer access from username 2. Okay. And then we're going to go and check to see if that access still works. Okay, so for in username 1, go back to identity and access management. And here we've got the list of all different permissions. We want to find the access there that says project viewer, and we want to hit this button here, this pencil, and we want to remove that access. Right? Yeah, trash can next to the role, and then hit save. Save. Okay, that disappeared. So now that user doesn't have the access anymore. So now if I go back over here, if I go back to the browser, reload that tab, oops. I reload that tab. Now it could take a moment because right now it's still giving me access. Look at that. Probably I didn't wait long enough. But hit save. It can take up to 80 seconds for the change to happen. If you're signed out, sign back in, should see a permission error. Could take up to 80 seconds. If you didn't get an error, wait 2 minutes and then try refreshing. Okay, I don't think I waited 80 seconds yet. We can see sample.txt is there. Hit refresh and see if it's still there. At this moment, it's still there.
Yeah, I think it is taking 80 seconds. I just got a permission denied error.
Cool. Oh, also there's
You can also, yeah, there's a
refresh
refresh
button right there.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now it's gone. Additional permissions are required to list the buckets in this project. Ask a project owner to grant you storage bucket permission, list permission. So that's so helpful, right? That it'll tell you right there. So you're not like confused, like, I don't see anything. Now you know exactly why. Say there is something there, but I can't tell you what it is, right? You don't have permission, but you can ask and then get that permission. So that's really helpful. And then the learn more gives you even more information about that. So if I check my progress, look at that. They already gave me the points. We already removed the access appropriately. Okay, now we're going to add that user back as a storage object viewer, just about cloud storage, only about cloud storage. So to do that, we're going to go to username 1. And here in the list where we had taken away their access, we're going to add access. For the principal, we need to go back here and we need to copy that username to. Then you'll want to click in here, paste that in, and then we're going to choose under cloud storage product. There's a bunch of items we looked through before. Under cloud storage, we're going to find the storage object viewer. I think that was what they were telling us to do. Let's double check that. Storage object viewer, and then click save. Okay, so now instead of just general viewer across the entire system, they only have a view for that storage. Okay. Now we want to verify that they have access. We're going to be in the console. So this time we're going to use the Cloud Shell. Okay. So in user 2, second tab here, we're going to click Activate Cloud Shell. It's up here in the top right. It looks like a greater than underscore, and it's next to the question mark help. Click that. That'll open in the lower third of the screen and make it a little bigger. Hit continue if it asks you. So they just spun up a little VM for us in the cloud. Okay, it's a temporary VM, but okay, now we're going to look at that storage. Now where it says your bucket name, well, that's where you have to put in the name of the bucket you made. So the name of the bucket you made is going to be different than the name of the bucket I made, right? So I'm going to copy that part of the command. I'll paste this in, and mine was the School of Data 10. hit enter. And it's asking, hey, do I have permission to use your Google Cloud Platform account, like with application, with an API? And yes, you do. And it found it. It was able to see that document, and that's perfect. If it let me cat it. There it goes. See, cat showed me this is a test of IAM in Google Cloud, which was exactly what I was expecting and hoping that it would do. Check the progress. Man, we got it done. 100 out of 100, and we got it in way under time. So this lab is on 3 different quests. So now you've got 1 lab towards each of those 3 quests. If you started just today, you're getting basically triple credit for this lab because you can use this on these different quests. There's also that ensure access and identity quest that also counts for this lab. So you end up with as many as 4 badges that this is contributing to. So that's good news. And with that one, I'm going to hit end lab now that I've got the 100 points. Okay, I'm going to hit start lab and get this started. And then I'll prove that I'm not a robot. I don't have a monthly subscription, so it asked if I want to use credits. By now, you should have a monthly subscription if you passed that last lab. Okay, so here we go. Here's the lab. I'm going to copy the password. Now I'm going to right-click on Open Google Console, and I'll hit Open in Incognito window. If it puts in the username, yes, it did. I'm going to hit Next, and then now I can just directly paste that password I copied, and that saves me some time. Okay, and now it'll ask if I want to accept the terms and conditions, and I do. And in terms of service, agree and continue. And here we are. Now, I'm not sure what they want us to do yet, but they probably want us to activate the Cloud Shell. So I'm going to go check, but for now, I'm going to click that first and let that get loaded up. And I'll hit continue. Because I think they want us to use that. And I'll close that navigation menu by clicking the hamburger. There. Okay, so we've got this open. Let's see what they want us to do. We're going to create, update, delete, and undelete custom roles. All right. And that'll get us a little more familiar with those roles. Like last time we had roles like viewer, editor, owner. This time we're going to make our own roles. Okay, scroll down. So we'll activate Cloud Shell. That's what I did. And then we'll run gcloud auth list to show who we're logged in as. And it'll ask for permission at that point to talk to Google Cloud. And yes, I want it to do that. And then we'll list the projects. And it should match up the same, and it does. The project, if they've got it, like if it's working properly, you'll notice it here in the yellow. That is our project ID for this session. And they already said that here on the second line. So if that ever didn't load and you don't see anything in the yellow, then close that Cloud Shell and open it again. And it'll get it. Some of these instructions, they started with these in the past before Qwik Labs was adding this yellow with the session listed there. So it's super easy now, but in the past you had to check this every single time. And you'd have to like set project equals to whatever you wanted it to be. Okay, so the permissions, we saw them in the preview when I scrolled down earlier. It said the service name dot, the resource name dot, and then a verb like list or view or stop or edit, publish, different kinds of things. They don't always correspond with methods for, like in this case, pub subtopics publish, pub topic publish. So sometimes there's a difference, like there it has topic, not topics. So you have to be careful about the permissions. They might not always correspond. They usually do, but they don't always correspond to the permission that you need for something. Okay, so we're going to scroll down. Now this IAM roles create permission is needed if you want to be able to set up a custom role. So let's see what if they're going to have us have to add that to somebody. What permissions, what roles, what metadata. Okay, now they've got a command for us to copy and paste in there. And look at this, it's got this dev shell project ID. Now let's see if that works just on its own or if I have to actually paste in the project ID. Well, look at that. It actually worked just fine. It figured out the project ID that was in that yellow part, and it's using that. And it's listing all the different roles. And there's so many different roles that we've got available. And then this stage is if they're in beta or deprecated, or if they're general availability, they go kind of like alpha, beta, general availability, and then deprecated when they're, not going to be supported anymore. And it's still going and going. So there's a whole bunch of different possible permissions. We could actually get a list saved as a file, or if you ever wanted something like that, you could go like this and put in the file name. And then that would save that to a file. Or you could do something like to get a count of how many lines that is. But do something like this, grep stage. Each of them have the line stage there, or they also have the name. That could get you a count of how many there are. I'm going to run it just to see how many there are. Well, I'm looking at the instructions. So next they want us to describe just a specific one of those names, like role viewer or roles editor. Okay, if I copy it, I have to watch out about this square bracket part. Oh, and that list, I was trying to count up how many there are. That's still going. Let's see, I could background that. I'll let that keep running in the background, and then later on it'll spit out. Oh, there are 5,194 different possible permissions you can give. So you can be really fine-grained and about that. So this 5194 that spit out, that's how many. Okay, so I'm going to copy this part of it, and then I put in the role name, right? So I'll put in roles/viewer. And see what shows up there. Okay, look at all those, whole bunch of different permissions, and it's the get and list. I don't see any edit. I don't see any write, or publish, get policies, get all kinds of different things. So you can see that's what a viewer gets. So if you only need the viewer to do one thing, like on the last quest, we only needed them to view a cloud storage bucket. Well, you don't have to give them all this other access, right? If you showed a boss the printout of all the different page after page of all different permissions you were giving to a viewer, and then you said, and you've got a way to be able to only give this one permission instead, wow, that would be really compelling, right? If you showed so many different, I wonder how many that is. 2,353. So take off a few, like there's these 3 at the bottom. There'll be a few at the top as well. But well over 2,300 different permissions that the viewer gets if they're that standard role. Okay, so we took a look at that, and there were lots of different permissions, and they didn't even include all of them right? Because there are just going to be so many. Now let's take a look and see the roles that we can give that are grantable that we can give. Now that's going to be a lot of different permissions. Paste that, run that. Yeah, just so many different ones. It's not as long as some of the earlier lists we had. Let's see if I look for a name. Wonder how many of those are. Those are going to be 424. So the account that I'm in right now, when it's looking at this, it doesn't have so many. It only has 424 that it can permissions that it can give. So that's what we've got to work with. Now we're going to create a custom role with G-Cloud IAM roles create. All right. And you give it a YAML file that has the definition, or you can give all the different flags on the command line. Like you can list, after that you can say the organization and the organization ID, or the project and the project ID. So one way to do it is with a YAML file. The other way to do it is using flags. So they're going to have us do both different ways. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one by running nano and then role definition.yaml. And then we're going to copy this into there. So I'll copy this piece first to paste in, and then we're going to go nano role definition.yaml. Okay. Nano, oops. Role dash definition. Okay, now I'm going to paste that. Pasted just fine. And it says Control X, Y, and enter. All right. X, Y. So that wrote out that file. So that file has the contents they wanted, which is to add a role editor that has edit access to app versions. Okay. And then there's a G-Cloud command that we can run to create that role based on the description that we made. Okay, run that. At this point, this command will give an error if you had typed in the name wrong for the command. If you typed it in perfectly right, then this command will succeed like this, and it will say created role, and then the name of the role. So that worked, and we should get the points in just a moment here. Yep, 20 points. So we're part of the way there. Next one we'll do is make a role using flags. The flags make this a lot longer command on the command line. See, we've got the similar beginning, but then we've got this first flag is about the project, one about the title, description, and then a list of the permissions. You see a comma there between the different permissions, and then which stage, that it's an alpha feature. So that's basically the same things that we did with that file, but we did that all in a command line. So you can do it two different ways, and they want to teach us both of those ways. So I'll paste that in. Now this one's called a viewer. So this one doesn't have create and delete, right? This one has list and get. And that was created successfully, create a role viewer. Okay, check the progress. And the score over here should update momentarily. Hasn't yet, but that should get us, I think, to 40. Yeah, so 40 out of 100. Now to list our different roles, G-Cloud IAM roles list, and then you have to say which project it's about. And this DevShell project ID is automatically set by the Google Cloud Console. If they didn't have that, if you weren't in Google Cloud Console, if you were running this command on your own computer or something, when you're working on a cloud project, you would have to put in the project ID at this spot. But project ID, you can see it over here. close to with the username, they gave it to us. But whenever you make a new project, you'll have an ID for it. And you would just type that in or paste that in from somewhere else. All right. That worked out. Hope that worked out for you as well. Is that working out for people? Are you doing all right with that? Let us know over in the chat. So now we can see any deleted roles if you add -- deleted. And you can also run Qcloud IAM roles list to see all of the different predefined roles. We talked about those earlier a little bit, right? When we were looking through that list of roles that we scrolled, and there were so many when we were scrolling, and we didn't even look at all of them. We just kind of, skipped past some of them. So just to get a sense of that, let's see if we look for the ones name, if we grab for name : count -L, that'll get us number of lines that have the name. So this will get us the count of how many different roles there are. It's probably not going to be in the 2000s, but it is 992. So there's still a lot of roles. Okay, now if you want to edit a role that's already been created, a custom role, they're going to tell us how to do that. There's this IAM roles update command. And also, if two people tried to make a change at the same time, there's an E tag. This tag keeps track of the last time a role was changed, and you can only write a change if the E tag that you're editing with matches the current one. So they're trying to keep it so that the changes happen in order: first, second, third, fourth, so that you won't accidentally have your change conflict with someone else's change. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this command to update the custom role, and they'll tell us how to do it two ways. One is by changing the role definition in the YAML file, and the second is by using different flags. So to do that with the YAML file, it says to run this. Now, if we run this, we better change what's in the square brackets and the square brackets themselves to be the role ID. Now, the role we were working on was called editor, the first one. So you're going to want to put editor in that spot there. So you could either copy this whole thing, paste it, and then arrow, arrow, arrow over, and then delete, delete, delete to delete this part and replace it with the word editor. Or you could copy the first part, paste it, type in editor, space, and then you could copy the second part of the command. And that's what I did. Okay. So that Qcloud IAM roles describes that role. Okay. And we're going to create a new YAML file with the output. Copy the output from that command. Not the output they give us here on the screen, but we're going to copy the command, the output that's over here. So I'm going to copy this. And notice it has that E tag there. Keeps track of when it was last changed. I'm going to copy this whole piece here by just highlighting it. That's all it takes. Just highlight it, and then it copies it. Now they want us to make a new file with Nano called Nano. They want us to call it new role definition.yaml. So the old one was called role definition. Now we want to change that to be new dash role definition. The trick I did there, if you didn't notice, just listen to this one. So watch this. So you're here, you typed in Nano. We know there's a file called role definition already that we worked on. Type the R and hit tab. Tab key on your keyboard. It's right above caps lock. Boom. It fills in the whole name for us. But I want to change it so it says new in front. So I arrow over and I can put in that new dash. There's some more tricks too. You can actually do keyboard commands to jump to right in front of that word, so you can jump right to that spot. But for now, this is already cool enough. So you don't have to type in all these other keys. You can just type in the R, tab, and then go over and add in that new dash. Okay, here we are in Nano, and I've got in my paste buffer, I've got exactly the description that we copied. So I'm going to write that out to file, and I'm going to exit. They told us how to do that earlier. That was Control X, Y, or Control X and then Y and then enter, right, to save it. So I saved the file. Oh, wait, they want us to add 2 more permissions in the included permissions: storage buckets get and storage buckets list. No problem. So I'm going to go back and edit that file again. That file being the new resource list, resource definition. And then here's the included permissions. I'm going to hit enter right here to make space. And I'm going to paste in those 2. Storage buckets get and storage buckets list. And I'm going to write that out to disk, and I will exit. All right. Control X, Y, and then enter. Now we're going to update that role using this new role definition, but we have to change the role ID again. So gotta be careful about that one. This time we're going to do the editor one. So I'll copy this, and then I'm going to scroll over till I get to the role ID and the square brackets. Take those away, and I'll type in editor. Okay. Now, when you did that, what happened? For me, it started to think. It looks like it was thinking pretty hard. Oh, there it goes. So that succeeded. And it updated the E tag with a newer E tag. You'll notice the old E tag started with BW the same, but it ended with XMW. The new one ends with 5EW. So you can see it's updated. It's a different value now than before. So the editor role is now updated. Let's go back and see what they want us to do next. I'll check, see if that worked. I'm sure it did. That'll get us 15 points, and we'll be at 55 of 100. So that's how to edit a custom role using a text file, right? Using a YAML file. And YAML is a interesting format, yet another markup language it's called. So that's an acronym. Now we're going to do one with flags. Those flags, you know, they just go on the command line. This one's neat because it lets you view all the ones that are already there, and then we're just going to add 2 permissions to it. Storage buckets get, storage buckets list. And here they already typed in viewer for us, so we don't have to type in viewer. So I'm going to copy this and paste that. So this is going to update the role viewer, and we specify which project ID, and we're going to add the storage bucket get and storage bucket list permissions. Now, why do you think they have this -- project? It's because you might have multiple projects you work on, especially if you're going to be working in somewhere that's a larger company with more projects that are running at the same time. So you might have, you know, 5 or 10 different projects you're on, or more. If you do, you'll want to keep each one separate, and having the project ID is how you do that. And then if you wanted to be able to use a variable like this, those are actually pretty easy. You can export, and then you can specify a variable like that. Here, I'll just show you a test. Equals, and later you can use that as $test, and then it's going to echo Jeff. So that's just a variable. So you can make variables and use them like that. You'll notice that they have a $sign at the beginning of the name, like this one. So they made a variable called dev shell product ID. And into that, they put this project ID that's in the yellow there automatically for you. So You could always make one like that. You would just say export dev shell project ID equals, and you'd put in your project ID and then hit enter, and then that would save it. And then you can look at it by echoing that out, like asking the system to print that out to you. And you just ask by saying the name of the variable with the $, and then it gives you what's inside of that. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Check the progress. That should get us to 70. We're at 70. We're almost done. We're going to disable.
Jimmy, while we are at this updating, I just realized something. I was reading the other day, and they mentioned if not -- project, we can also give at an org level. You know, in GCP projects, it's a org is tied at the higher level of hierarchy, right? So I was reading about it the other day.
Oh, that's good. If you put something in the chat, I'd love to check up on that afterwards.
Sure.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. So the next one they want us to do is disable that viewer role. So we made a viewer role. Now we'll disable it, and then they're going to check and see if it's disabled. So stage. We talked about stage earlier where we had, I talked about alpha, beta, general availability, deprecated. I didn't mention disabled. Look at that. There is a disabled state, which will then disable. So it doesn't delete it. It just disables it. So it's not usable, but it's there. And we're going to do that right now to that viewer role. Okay. Here's the command for that. Paste that in. Now it says disabled. And look at that. They updated the E tag. Before this was, let's see, JJY. Now it's NWM. So that has been updated. They'll probably give us the points before I even, no, I have to check on it. 15 more points. That gets us to 85. So we're a stone's throw away. Now they want us to delete that role. That role's already disabled, so it can't really do anything, but they want us to delete it. So G-Cloud IAM, Identity and Access Management, roles, delete, role name, viewer. All right, here we go. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I had gotten some other character in there in my copy. I'm not sure if that's my fault or their fault. Let's see. I had gotten it from clicking this. Oh, that's interesting. That time it worked just fine.
Can we delete a custom role without disabling it?
I don't know if it has to be disabled first to be able to delete it. That's a good question. It might be. It'd be something you could easily test. You saw today how to make one. You can scroll
That's
up.
what I'm about to test it. Yeah.
Make one. Yeah. I don't know actually. Let's see. After it's been deleted, the bindings remain, but they're inactive, and then you can undelete it within 7 days. After 7 days, it's permanently deleted. Then it starts a permanent deletion that lasts 30 days, and after 37 days, you can use it again. Complicated. But, oh, look at that. We can undelete it. Well, let's do that. Let's undelete the viewer role that we just deleted. Okay, so just to see, it says deleted is true, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to undelete it and see that it came back. And that's probably the last thing in the lab. So we're getting done early today. Look at that. Disabled role viewer. So it doesn't say deleted anymore.
Yeah, we undeleted it, but it still be disabled.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that got us through that one. And that counts towards security identity, but it also counts towards ensure access and integrity. So if you're not on that one, you should join that one too. Quest 150, you can enroll in that one, and then you'll be getting double credit on Quest 40 and on Quest 150. Now, that lab that we just completed, hit end lab, when you've got 100 points. I don't have 100 points. I'm going to hit scroll down and hit check my progress. There it is. There's my 100 points. Now I'm going to hit end lab. So I'll say nice lab. And I think, oh yeah, sometimes it gets stuck on the stars thing. So put your mouse over the stars again, and then pick the stars, and then the submit button will come up. It's a weird little quirk. And they said, thanks for reviewing the lab. Now, if we go back, we can see the list, and we can see the first two. We've got those. We already did this one recently, just a couple weeks ago, the identity aware proxy one. So we're not going to redo that one as a group. Next week, we've got these two, service accounts and roles, and then network peering. And then we've also recently done the packet mirroring one. So those two we've already done recently in the School of Cloud. And so then the third week, we'll do Cloud KMS and the private Kubernetes cluster. Thanks again for attending the School of Cloud. Now check out some of our other videos, and see you back next time.